So here we are on the pastel art journey, and I'm starting a fresh painting and taking a little detour to look at the flowers. And this is based on an original photo I took in the city of Dunedin in New Zealand, a little private garden called Glenfalloch. So these dahlias, I'm going to watch the screen and sigh a little bit as I tell you all about the painting process. So I'm working on a Canson paper. It's a traditional pastel paper. You can use either side of it. It's a cotton rich paper. One side has got a sort of an orange peel texture, sort of a dotted pattern that some people either like or don't. It's a bit like coriander. You either like it or you don't. And the other side's very smooth. And because I'm using Pan Pastel versus normal pastel, it's a very fine pigment. I'm not sure what they use in their binder, but it's very fine, and so you can put a lot more layers on your paper versus a standard pastel. And so on the smooth side of this paper, I thought, well, that'll make sense. I'll just keep blending away. But what I found in using the Pan Pastels, and I haven't used a lot of Canson paper with Pan Pastel. I've normally just used normal pastel or pastel pencil. What I found was it was like skating on ice. You just slide away, and unlike pastel mat, which is my normal paper for painting, when you use Pan Pastel on there and you use the applicator, it just grabs the pastel and you get sort of a blodge. This is much smoother and just slides onto the paper, and so it's easy to fall into a trap of doing lots of blends, which eventually, if you're not careful, will become mud. So there were a lot of firsts in this particular painting. It was a detour into uncharted territory. Here there be dragons. I think that's what it used to say on those maps. I'm using a paper I'm not familiar with. I'm painting a subject I've never painted before. And but I thought, why not? Dahlias look beautiful. How hard can they be? How hard can they be? Actually, they're quite hard. They're hard when you, for the first time, because what happens in your mind is your mind's always trying to interpret what it sees and turn it into, there's a pattern recognition, and your brain's going, what can I compare this to that I've seen before? In my mind, I think it turned out to be sea anemones. Because they look more like tentacles than petals in the end. But nonetheless, the purpose of this channel is to document an art journey of someone who's had no formal training. So I've had no training apart from what I've learnt in books or on YouTube. So with no training and no innate talent, I don't view myself as an artistic person. I'm not, I don't have any special skills when it comes to art. I just have a stubborn streak that says, I want to translate what's in my heart and what's in my mind out through my fingers to these pastels. That's pretty much it. It's just a desire a passion to paint. That's what I've got, passion to paint. And so I wasn't doing anything extra special with these leaves. There's a couple that I can see at the moment that are looking okay, and others that are just blotches. And I didn't mind the blotches because I've learned that in a painting, if you try and make everything detailed, it's kind of actually exhausting. That's not how we see the world. Our eyes will focus in on something and everything else is blurry because we're processing, I believe it's something like 2 billion bits of information per second. And our brain is just deleting a whole lot of that stuff as it goes. It just goes, well, what is the main thing I need to be looking at here? Otherwise, when we were driving a vehicle, that would be quite dangerous if we didn't just focus on the road. So those the dahlia petals in the middle flower, I'd followed the photo and dropped them underneath that leaf, and then later on decided that looked really silly. So I tried to fix them and had mixed results in doing that. This is a test piece. It's not a piece that I would put up for sale. It's an experimental, what can I do? Can I stretch the Pan Pastel medium, which is often used, the videos I've often seen of it, it's used as background, for a bit of bokeh. And that just seems like a waste of such a beautiful, colourful medium that I really am quite keen to explore. Is it possible to create art that is purely done with Pan Pastel that looks great? But I've got a feeling it's going to be more of an impression than highly detailed. But I think it's possible to step out of the narrow limits of portraiture and do something a bit different. I'm dropping in bits of ochre and yellow into the foliage because there's that old knock knock joke. You might know the one. Knock knock. Who's there? Teresa. Teresa who? Trees are green, didn't you know? Well, trees aren't green. They're more yellow. Go look at them and you'll see the yellow that's in them. There are greens, but you'll see a lot of yellow in vegetation. So I don't know how they'd fix that knock knock joke, but it might be a bit weird if you go knock knock. Who's there? Trees are yellow. But, that's not going to work. So I'm looking for shapes, and as you can see, they've become little tentacles and some sky holes. Sky holes, I was talking to my wife about sky holes. She was saying often she sees artists do sort of blotches as sky holes in trees, when in fact quite often if you actually look at the shape of a sky hole, it can be a triangle. And I said, well, that's too bad, I've just put in a whole lot of blotches on my painting. But she's right. I then went and looked at trees and the sky holes through them, and more often than not there's a triangle where sort of a branch heads off one way and another one goes the other way, and then you've got some leaves coming down. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll do better next time. So I didn't try to slavishly follow the photo. Clearly in the outline it was just an indication of where everything was going to go. But I did want to experiment with, did I have enough greens and yellows in the Pan Pastel palette? Now the Pan Pastel palette has 3 different greens. There's a chromium oxide, permanent green, and a phthalo green, and then you'll get different shades, a tint and a shade and a extra dark to give you the value range. I thought, yeah, I'll just bring this leaf up a bit to was tired of doing dahlias at that stage. It was like, you know what, I just need to hide that dahlia a bit. And the leaves are supposed to be a maple tree. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing here, but a lot of my painting is intuitive. Here we go, trying to fix up the hydrangeas under that leaf, and it looks like there's a sheep hiding in there somewhere. But that's okay. It's okay. While there's the greens that come in the 3 greens, there's also some yellowy greens, and then you've got a set of yellows as well, and then there's some blues. But it is a very limited palette. But it's good enough to do some interesting art with. And the Pan Pastels, compared to buying sets of pastels, are incredibly budget friendly. So while they don't sponsor me, and I'm not, I have no affiliation with them, as a product I think they're an underrated product, and I'm happy to stand up for them and say you can do some interesting art just using Pan Pastels. It's a very clean medium, you're not going to get dust everywhere. Cleanup is, there is no cleanup. So I just find them remarkable. So on this particular journey, it was an okay painting. I'm okay with it. I've put it in my box of shame, so once I finish a painting, it either gets framed, ready for sale, or it goes into the box of, well, that was an interesting experiment. And that's where it sits at the moment. I'll probably come back to dahlias later on, but for now I think I'll probably go back to portraiture to do what I know best. But it was a good change of pace to do something different, and in your art experience I hope you get to do something a little bit different and stretch yourself. And here's the final painting. Thanks so much for coming on the journey with me. See you again.